The FBI has arrested a suspect they believe leaked classified Pentagon documents in a Discord server. Around half a dozen armed FBI agents went to a property in Massachusetts belonging to the mother of 21-year-old Air National Guardsman Jack Teixeira. He was arrested without incident, and Attorney General Merrick Garland confirmed that later today in a press conference. Now, prior to his arrest, the Washington Post had published a pretty lengthy piece after talking to one of the teenage members of that same Discord, which had about 24 individuals. The details from the friend were fascinating to say the least, but we do know that this suspect who leaked the documents is 21 years old, which of course calls into question, how the hell did a 21-year-old have access to classified documents, which he leaked beginning months ago in this Discord server? Cenk.
Look, guys, this story has a lot of nuance because there's a couple of different ways of looking at this. So number one, is he a whistleblower or was he just a rando leaking really sensitive classified intelligence for no reason? So that's the thing we got to discern in a second. And then you have to remove his identity from the actual leak, right? So this is not a situation where you say, okay, well, if the guy doing it is a bad guy, then the leak must be bad or the leak must be good, depending on your perspective, depending on your politics, etc. No, as you're gonna see, the guy's a really bad guy. In my opinion, he's a racist, anti-Semite, etc. But that doesn't mean that the leak is bad. That depends on whether he's a whistleblower and revealing terrible things the US government is doing, or he's leaking sensitive information for no goddamn reason. Let's find out.
Right, I think that's a really good question. And before I get to some of the details that we've learned from the Discord member who spoke to the Washington Post, I have a lot of questions about what is considered a whistleblower, right? So would someone need to leak this classified information to a journalist in order to be considered a whistleblower? Since it was leaked in the context of this Discord server, does that mean that this person cannot be considered a whistleblower? I think there are a lot of questions here, but I think that the identity of the person and what this Discord channel is about might play into determining that. Let's give you the details on that. So the young person who spoke to the Washington Post, said that the Teixeira, who is referred to as OG in the Discord server, was almost like a father figure who was like looking out for them and giving them information about what's really transpiring with geopolitics. Now, united by their mutual love for guns, military gear, and God, writes the Washington Post, the group of roughly 24, mostly men and boys, formed an invitation-only clubhouse in 2020 on Discord. So they created this Discord server during the pandemic in order to just have some company, some camaraderie. They engaged in rhetoric that you and I would find objectionable, Cenk. So that's what you're referring to. Again, the individuals who were part of this would refer to the leaker as OG. And I want to give you a few more details before I toss to you, Cenk. OG claimed he spent at least some of his day inside a secure facility that prohibited cell phones and other electronic devices, which could be used to document secret information housed on government computer networks or spooling out from printers. At first, he wouldn't just share images of the documents he had. So at first, he would actually, type them out, the member said, translating arcane intel speak for the uninitiated, such as explaining that no foreign meant the information in the document was so sensitive, it must not be shared with foreign nationals. However, according to the Post, the Discord group actually did in fact include some foreign nationals, including individuals from both Russia and Ukraine. The group contained foreign citizens, including from Russia and Ukraine, the member said. A defiance of the no foreign warning printed across the top of so many documents that the leaker OG shared. So also, he apparently was not taking sides on the war in Ukraine. So he wasn't pro-Russia or pro-Ukraine, according to the Discord member who spoke to the Washington Post. He said, quote, OG is not a Russian operative. He is not a Ukrainian operative, the member said. The room on the server where he posted the documents was called Bear versus Pig, meant to be a snide jab at Russia and Ukraine, and an indication that OG took no sides in the conflict. And yes, Cenk, you are absolutely correct. They engaged in all sorts of anti-Semitic rhetoric, racist rhetoric. And I get the sense that when talking to the Washington Post, this member of that Discord server wanted to make it seem like, I don't know, we were just trying to blow off steam or something like that. But I don't think people blow off steam by engaging in racist and anti-Semitic rhetoric. I don't know, just me.
Yeah, so the only way that that's relevant in this case is that if he's leaking because of a political motive, and so, if he likes the Russians, hates the Russians, and he's leaking information about the Russians or the Ukrainians because of that, I suppose it could be relevant. Like, you can say that the racism and anti-Semites were jokes. It didn't. From the reporting, it doesn't sound like it was jokes, but really it doesn't matter here. Okay, so he's a bad guy. Got it. He's a bad guy. Okay, bad guy in that sense. Yeah.
There's one more thing. So I think the most explosive thing I read in this report had to do with Teixeira's views on the Buffalo shooting, which, just to back up for a second and remind you all, the Buffalo shooting was a racially motivated mass shooting that took place in a black neighborhood, in a predominantly black neighborhood at a grocery store. The shooter clearly had a manifesto that made it obvious what motivated the shooting in the first place. I give you all that information because what was Teixeira's views on that? Well, according to the Post, OG, again, that's Teixeira, the leaker, claimed, according to the members, that the government knew in advance that a white supremacist intended to go on a shooting rampage at a Buffalo supermarket in May of 2022. The attack left 10 dead, all of them black, and wounded 3 more. OG said federal law enforcement officials let the killings proceed so they could argue for increased funding, a baseless notion that the member said he believes and considers an example of OG's penetrating insights about the depth of government corruption. So some conspiracy theories were being pushed by this leaker as well.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of weird turns in that one particular story. So what, did you know that they were gonna do the shooting in Buffalo? Why didn't you say something about it if all those black people were gonna get killed? And what do you mean the government let it happen? And by the way, if he had information about the government letting it happen, a lot of folks would be pissed, not just on the right, but on the left or anywhere, any decent human being, if the government let a shooting of black people happen and they knew about it, right? So is it real or is it not real? That's super relevant, right? But it seems like he's a massive right winger that believes in conspiracy theories. And so look, guys, what's an official whistleblower and someone who's doing good for the country, for the actual citizens of the country? People like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning that release things like, hey, it turns out the American government was lying about the death count in Iraq. That is very relevant. It's important for us to know so we don't get into more wars. Apache helicopter video where we see American service members unfortunately killing first reporters and then medical officials that responded to the reporters being murdered. These are all whistleblower things to do where you reveal the wrongdoing of the American government. When you are putting out random things about Russian field operations, the Ukrainian military positions, how we're spying in on our allies, etc. Well, maybe how we're spying in on our allies could get into whistleblower territory, but a lot of this stuff is very dangerous information and rightfully top secret and should not be revealed publicly. So you've got to make that distinction. We can't have every Yahoo from the left or the right deciding on their own, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna reveal all of our top secrets. What are you, Donald Trump? No, okay, we can't have that happen.
So the other thing that I want to make clear is that there was an understanding within this Discord server that the documents that Teixeira was sharing were not to be exposed widely, right? Like it was supposed to remain within the Discord server. It was not supposed to leave the Discord server and get to other individuals. And that's not what a whistleblower would want, right? Like a whistleblower would want to shed light and widely share information about government overreach or potential war crimes. It seems as though he was more interested in sharing these classified documents in the context and only in the context of this one Discord server that had about 24 individuals within it.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna read a couple of member comments because I think that they're interesting points of view on this topic. First of all, on the age, Schultheis on our Twitch platform says, I had a top secret clearance from the US Navy at 19 and was allowed to drive a US nuclear submarine at 19. So that's interesting. And so
terrifying.
Yeah, apparently that's relatively normal. Starshine Dragon Song made a very similar comment before I did even. The leaker was treated the way that Trump should have been treated. They essentially did the same crime. Trump added, if you want, with the obstruction and all, but they will stuff to go to impress their friends. That's right. Both, if in a best case scenario, Trump and this guy were doing it to impress their friends. That is not a legitimate reason to do it and deeply illegal. Of course, this guy got arrested with a tank, okay? Like literally, there was an armored vehicle that looked like a tank that went to go arrest him. It was highly armed, etc. With Trump, of course, we're treating him with kid gloves as always. And then last thing here, Trista says, leaks will continue to happen. The know-it-alls in Washington still do not realize that the current young generation has vastly different values from the 20th century thinking that prevails in Washington. This generation does not want to fight hot wars. Now, there's a lot of truth to that, both on the right and the left when it comes to the younger generations. But guys, we've got to draw a distinction between legitimate whistleblowers that tell us the wrongdoing of our government and leaking random top secret information or classified information that could hurt us, our allies, and actual human beings on the ground by revealing their locations, the strategies. You can get a lot of people killed. And guess who was in the Discord channel? First of all, nearly half of the Discord channel were foreigners, and foreigners are definitely not supposed to see this, as Anna told you earlier. And one was Ukrainian and one was Russian at a minimum. And then of course they got leaked out from outside that server. And then they were on Russian Telegram and on it goes. So now both sides know the secrets that we knew about the other side. That's a bit of a disaster. I don't think that's a whistleblower. I think that's a guy who committed a significant and serious crime.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.